Major, your dad was in telecommunications and your mom a homemaker. Tell us about your life growing up.
Uh, okay, good morning. Thanks for having me here. That's correct. My dad worked in telecoms and my mom was a homemaker. We were given the freedom by both our parents to pursue our interests and dreams, and however, we were provided, we were given certain guidelines,
Right, the rules.
Parents, okay, but to just confine ourselves to the boundaries which they state.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the things that they insist is like, during school days, like coming back home by 7,
Mm-hmm.
loitering around, just to mention a few. And you can say that myself and my sibling as inculcated self-discipline from our parents' upbringing.
Mm-hmm.
And, my dad was a very religious person. He expected us to follow him a bit,
Right.
with some meditation.
Okay.
Which we followed with the established principle. We grew up, okay? And I myself was a bit strict and strong disciplinarian. I love outdoor activities. I was more adventurous. In the sense, I go camping, hiking, mountain climbing. Malaysia don't have big mountain, but climbing, that kind of things. When I joined the Girl Guides in the school. So this is how I grew up.
Right.
Being very adventurous, yeah.
What was your favorite thing to do?
Camping, mostly.
And what was it about camping that you loved so much?
It's just that we, during school days, we gather together, we have the campfires, we sing around, we, stay together, we share a lot of stories and things like that, which, of course, we won't get the opportunity to go out. You're studying, right, in school. So that's how it is.
Okay. So you were strict, you were saying, and adventurous. Were you a rule breaker or a rule follower when you were younger?
Younger days, I was a follower, of course. At the same time, of course, I do follow certain rules during my younger days as well.
Mm-hmm. What were your ambitions growing up?
Okay. My ambition initially from school days was to be a teacher. So
really?
I'm a teacher, okay? And then I found teaching was kind of routine,
Right.
And it was not to my liking.
The adventure in you wanted something more.
Yes, of course. So when the time came, there was an opportunity that there was this calling for Air Force recruitment. So I straight away jumped to it. And even though I know it is rough and tough to be in the service, but I still went ahead because it is a great challenge for me.
Somewhere along the way, we read that you wanted to be a lawyer as well.
During my days in the Air Force, I was quite interested or keen to be a lawyer as well.
Right.
So I did start doing the course. But unfortunately, due to work commitments, I have to put a back step on it because being in the air traffic branch was quite a stressful thing.
Yeah. So it wasn't something that you wanted to be when you were younger, that you wanted to sue everybody?
Not really. This ambition came in between, because I know some people, they start very young, they have an ambition and boom, they go, It was a little bit different for me. Yeah.
Okay, if you don't mind, I'd like to just go back a little bit, rewind. It was completely unheard of in the 70s to have women in the Malaysian Air Force. How did you see this ad to join the Air Force, or why did you decide on a career in aviation?
Okay, as I mentioned, I wanted to have something very challenging and something very adventurous. So I thought to go into the Malaysian Armed Forces was a great challenge. So, of course, during the 70s, a lot of people do not take highly of ladies going into the services.
Right.
But I ventured into it, as it was very challenging. And of course, I've read being in the service is very tough in articles and so on, but it did not deter me from going forward.
What did your mom and dad think about it, or the rest of your family?
Of course, they were typical conservative parents. They were not very happy with that situation or with the decision. Nevertheless, I managed to convince them and went forward with their support.
How though? How did you convince them? Because that's what you're...
Yeah, it's a strange thing, you see, because I keep telling them, no, not to worry. This is one of those things. Somebody must start somewhere, Not keep saying that, oh, it is not ladies in the service. But who is going to start it? There must be somebody. So I told them, worry, I'm sure, we can, I can succeed in that. It's not, it's just like, I keep telling them, don't worry. It's just like going camping or going hiking, that kind of thing, And so, a lot of stories you have to say before they really accepted. And
see,
spinning that yarn.
I can actually see that if you hadn't have joined the Air Force, you would have done very well as a lawyer. Okay, so listen, you were the first of 2 women selected for the Air Force program. How did that make you feel? I mean, you were determined, you knew that's what you wanted, and then you get in.
Well, when I first when I first joined, or after recruitment and all, after selection and whatnot, so 2 ladies were selected, and we were the first air cadet, because before that, Armed Forces had combined training, you see, Army, Air Force, Navy.
Oh.
But this is the first time they had single service training. So we were the first Air Force cadet. Of course, we were very excited and very happy to go into that. And but not visualizing the degree of toughness in the, we know it is tough, but we didn't visualize how tough it was, So, of course, we went into it. Later, we found out that there was 30 other gentlemen to join us to go into the basic military training. The first day that I could remember very clearly was my instructor took both of us to a salon and us to have our hair cut. Can you imagine? I said, we are having a very short haircut. Those days we had shoulder length hair, and suddenly you are going to have a short hair, it looks a bit ridiculous. But
a boy haircut.
So, so we questioned the officer who accompanied us. Why should we have a haircut like this? He said, oh, you cannot question. This is service life, so it has to be short hair because training is very tough and you won't have time to manage your hair, so on and so forth. So, okay, fine. So there we go. That was it.
What was the hardest experience in all of that training?
The training was really tough, we had to do a lot of physical activities as well, but we managed with our gentlemen along. We worked together and we had a very good united group.
Okay.
So Major, if we are very unhappy or, sometimes we cannot manage certain part of the training, of course, we console each other and we get on with it.
But at that point, did you go like, okay, we need to show these men that we ladies can do it just as well as they can?
We did.
I think they call that having chutzpah, Major.
We managed to do the same training. There was no special treatment. we managed to complete the basic training. Yeah.
So, Major, in the Air Force, they called you apparently Madam No Nonsense. And this was evident in the late 70s when you
Oh, no.
refused to let a senior officer's flight take off. Can you tell us the story?
No, it was not. They don't call me Madam No Nonsense in the Air Force, you know. This was a nickname given to me in the business and private aviation circle.
Right.
Oh, I see.
Okay.
That is after I left the Air Force.
Right.
Air Force, they call me Iron Lady.
Oh wow,
wow.
even better.
Okay, I think that's
Love that,
better.
yeah.
I'd stick with Iron Lady.
Okay,
Yeah.
this is because I'm very strict and I follow everything by the book. So there's no bending of rules and whatnot, you know.
Mhm.
And after doing my basic training, we were given in fact, all of us will be guided to a certain specialization. So the gentleman went for pilot training, and we two ladies were given the air traffic. So we did our aptitude test, and we managed to get through. So we were in the air traffic branch, okay? Of course, then we have to do the normal air traffic trainings and so on and so forth. And we started our career from RMAF base Sungai Besi, our first start, okay? And of course, subsequently, we will be posted to various stations within a spell of 2-3 years kind of thing. So there we go. And being in the air traffic is not an easy branch. It is very tough also. Tough in the sense it's very stressful. To be very alert. You know, you have to do a lot of things together at one time. You have to speak, you have to write, you have to think.
Wow. Okay.
So this is another challenge that we went through. So when pilots are flying and all this thing, you cannot make a mistake, you know. So you have to follow by the rules.
But what's the story though? There's this urban legend about you not wanting a senior officer's flight to take off. Is that true?
You say, say again?
There's a story that you're such a sort of, you are the Iron Lady, and this was evident when you refused to let a senior officer's flight take off. There's a story about that. Can you share that with us?
Okay, it's like this. You see, there's certain rules and regulation that you have to follow in the air traffic branch very strictly. There's no bending of rules, you know. In air traffic branch, you cannot take any shortcuts, okay? If you take shortcut, it may turn out to be a disaster. We are dealing with aircraft, passengers, crew, okay? And any mistake, you cannot delete and insert like what you do in the administrative job, you see.
Right.
Air traffic, there's no turning back. So that's why the rules are very important. Regulation, you have to make sure that you don't bend the rules, you know, it's at stake. So when pilots go up in the sky, some of the pilots, they follow rules and regulation as well. But sometimes some people, they are senior officers and they think that they can do it, you know, when the rule says you cannot. But there you are, as an air traffic officer, you have to put your foot down and say, no, that's it. There's no bending backwards. You have to follow the rules. That's it.
So I understand how important rules are to you, and that, you know, that's it. 0 rules are ever bent because it's of the danger, right? And the responsibility. But what about other areas of your life? Do you bend rules in any other area of your life? Like, do you have chocolate for breakfast, for example? You know? No.
I only don't bend the rules when I'm working, okay?
Right.
Not in personal lives, that kind of thing, because the other things all is not so what shall I say, rigid as such.
And it's not life and death in many ways.
Say again?
And it's not life and death situation in personal life.
Yes, it's not like a bad situation. It doesn't create disasters kind of thing, you know.
Okay. I think that's a pretty good way to live by, basically. If it's a sort of a dangerous situation, don't ever break the rules. But if it's, you know, everyday sort of life, you know, juggle, a little bit of bending here and there.
No. It's a big no. Cannot bend the rules.
Major, you're a legend from the Air Force days and today in business and private aviation. How have you inspired the future generation of women through your life's work?
Okay, it is just by exemplary actions. Exemplary actions are key to inspiring the future generation of ladies, young ladies. You train them to move forward bravely, you know, because some may not be so happy or adventurous to go into certain jobs, which is gender norm kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So you inspire them by giving them motivation, you know, training them to go forward bravely towards their goals and dreams, if it means challenging the opposite gender. Mm-hmm. Show them working hard with dedication always pays off. That is important. Yeah.
Okay. And are you still very good friends with the other lady who joined the Air Force with you at the same time?
I do encourage a lot of ladies as well. Yes, I do. Yeah.
Are you still in contact and friends with the other lady who joined the Air Force with you way back in the 70s?
A lot of Air Force ladies groups as well as Jan. At the same time, when the lady officers, they have their seminars and meetings and so on, then they will have a closing dinner. They will invite me as well. So I will go and mingle with the young ones and, you know, share my experiences with them.
And what's
that's it.
And one more thing, what's your advice to women who are afraid or unsure about charting their own course in life?
Okay, actually my advice is in the first place, any person must have a strong willpower. You should not be afraid of anything which comes your way, you know, or whoever who comes your way. If you have a very strong willpower, you go for it, okay? Never ever be afraid of failures. Every failure will make you stronger and more successful person, ultimately achieving your dreams and goals. If your dream is to be in certain aviation or even other jobs which the norms has been the opposite gender, you go for it. You know, you can do it. That's my take, you know. You have to go for it. You have to prove, you know. The thing is, if you have the strong willpower and the good attitude, anyhow you will make it. That's how I feel, you see. So that is my advice to the ladies out there.